looks like this. And this is where Mankato is at, not Mankato. Never heard it butchered that way, but first time. This is where we are at right here. This is where I was born and raised, Mankato, Minnesota. The reason it's called Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. That is absolutely correct. For a while, they started calling it the land of 12,000 lakes. But then they revert back to the 10,000 lakes. I don't know why. But there are 10,000 lakes. Wherever you're out of Minnesota, you're never where you're within like 20 miles from a lake, a stream, a pond, a river. They're everywhere. You know what else is everywhere? Mosquitoes.
Oh, no.
Mosquitoes everywhere. So I call it the land of 10,000 lakes and endless mosquitoes. But I was born and raised in Mankato, Minnesota. And I had two brothers. And two sisters. One passed away, my mom and dad, at 665 Warren Street. Now, we were not a rich family, but we were a good family. We had responsibilities, every one of us, to do something to keep the household in order. My brothers and sisters. My sisters took care of the cooking, the cleaning, that sort of stuff with my mom. And then my responsibility was the yard. Now this yard was not like any other yard you've ever seen before, because it was 10,000 miles that way and 50,000 miles that way, because that's what it looks like for an 8-year-old to cut the grass every other day. It was like the Golden Gate Bridge. You always had to do something. You were always doing something. You were always cutting the grass. You were always trimming. You were always doing something. That was my responsibility. And we didn't have a power mower. We had one of these push mowers. And let me tell you, if the grass is high, it's a lot harder to do. So that's why my father wanted me to cut it as much as possible. So it was easier to cut. Because when you let it grow 3-4 days, you were sunk. But that was my responsibility, and we came from a long line of hunters. Hunters. My father loved to kill things. And he would bring home the kill to my mother to cook for us. We hardly had any beef at all growing up. We lived on whatever my father brought in the door. If it was a deer, we butchered it. Yes, he killed Bambi. And we butchered it. And then we ate it. All of us. We ate deer, we ate grouse, we ate turkey, we ate pheasant, we tried muskrat. I don't recommend it. But just about everything that crawled or walked, we had. And I remember one instance when my father gave me the keys to the car. And he said, I have a little something for you out in the trunk of the car. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a big surprise. Well, if you can imagine those old Pontiac Rocket 88s, I think, or Oldsmobile Rocket 88s, right? With the huge trunk. Remember the huge trunk on those things? And the front seat where you could put like 15 people in it?
Yes.
He gave me this key. And he said, go out in the trunk, open it up. I got a little something for you out there. So I went out there, and the bumper is right here, and the trunk is coming down like this, and the key holder is right here. And I took that and opened it up, and it popped up, and this massive snapping turtle came rolling out on top of me. He thought that was the funniest thing. He was just laughing, like drinking beer and watching. He goes, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm thinking, my God, I'm going to get killed here, because this snapping turtle was this big around. It was huge. Oh, man. So what happened to the snapping turtle? We killed it, and we ate it. But that's what we did. We had fun at our house. People, the kids from the neighborhood would come over to our house because we always had something cool going on. My father would bring home crates of live chickens and come out in the backyard and chop their heads off and then throw them out and watch them run around with their heads chopped off. Now, you remember the saying when say, you run around like your head chopped, the chicken when your head cut off? I lived that. I lived that. We had a line of kids. My dad would chop off the heads, head would go one way, throw out the chicken, grab the next one, chop the head off. We were running after those chickens. Oh, that was that was fun. That was fun. If those kids didn't go home, they had blood on them or guts or entrails or something, something was wrong. Because every time they went to the McGowans, it was a party. My father had a den. He loved to hunt, and so he had a lot of his kills mounted. And one of the things that he did a lot of illegal, let's say, gunny sack hunting because, well, we were hungry and we didn't have any meat, and so he would go out and get a deer or a pheasant or something. We always had something to eat, but he had a indifference to the game wardens in that area of Minnesota. They knew him by his first name. And one of them said, I'm going to get you one of these days, McGowan. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And he had a bear trap in the den with a boot in it and a bone sticking out of it. So the bone stuck out like this. And he told everybody, he said, that's that game warden's foot. I trapped him. And that's his foot. So years and years went by, and everybody believed that was this guy's foot. Of course, it wasn't. It was a ham bone, but to us, it was that game warden. And the skill of hunting was passed down to me. I was the last in the line. And I wanted a BB gun. That's what I wanted. My father said, no, I want you to start out with a 22. I said, I really like a BB gun. So for my birthday, he got me a BB gun. And we lived on the outside of town. And my mother loved birds and squirrels and all kinds of nature. Its background was like something out of a Better Homes and Garden backyard, that sort of thing. Birds, squirrels, all kinds of stuff. I took this gun and I was not happy with just knocking down targets and paper. How many of you know that just gets old after a while? You need something different, something to spice it up, something to make it, yeah, that's fun. So I took out the door in the back of the screen door, took out the screen and pulled it down, and then I would lay my gun here. I would sit in the chair. I had iced tea right here inside the house. And then I would proceed to kill all of these creatures in the backyard. And when my father came home, he saw this and he said, what have you been doing? I said, I've been killing. And he said, well, I don't think your mother's going to be real proud of you. It's because I had them all laid out. I had a squirrel, I had a Baltimore Oriole, I had a blue jay, I had a grackle, I had a red squirrel, a fox squirrel, and I had like 15 dead animals, on the back of the step. My mother came around, she went, oh my God! She grabbed my gun, smashed it against the cement and broke it. So my hunting days were over for that time, in the backyard. I never hunted again in the backyard. But after that, I learned my lesson and I waited for my 22, and my father took me hunting with the 22. But that's just a short glimpse of what I grew up with on 665 Warren Street in Mankato, Minnesota. Mankato. All right, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.